The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And the obvious trade fit actually happened.
That's so unlike Jerry DiPoto. We said this trade makes the most sense. Jorge Polanco, position of need, fits their mold, like isn't going to cost one of the big starters. It just makes too much sense, but all this time passed and we said, well, maybe they're going to go a different route. Only to circle back and say, well, it was always Jorge Polanco, as the kids say.
Let's lay out the trade. Apparently, this trade has been in the works for quite a while, and that Jerry has, I would assume, been on the phone a lot of this offseason trying to make this work, and the Twins and Mariners finally made this happen. So the Mariners will get Jorge Polanco. The Twins will get Anthony DeSclafani and his entire salary. Darren Bowen, Gabby Gonzalez, $500,000, and cue the sad music, Lyle. Our friend Justin Topa is heading to Minnesota.
I know that part, just from a personal standpoint, non-baseball perspective, that really hurts. And that sucks because we just had him on a couple weeks ago. He was awesome. You never even got to meet him. I know you were looking forward to meeting him when we go to spring training.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed. I mean, it's not even just for the person, and the impact on the Mariners bullpen will definitely be felt. We'll get into that as well. But I'm a little disappointed I didn't get to meet Justin in person. That stunk. Baseball sense. Good trade. Good trade. You do this. The way I look at this trade right now, right off the bat. So what the Mariners did was, first off, they acquired the player Jorge Polanco, and I think the talent of that was used to acquire Jorge Polanco was Justin Topa, Darren Bowen, who is he's kind of a throw-in there, but I mean his value was used to usher the talent of Jorge Polanco in, and then a little bit of what Gabby Gonzalez was thrown in there for. What Gabby Gonzalez was thrown in there for is so the Mariners could find a way to dump the $12 million on Anthony DeSclafani's contract and send him in this deal as well. So you traded prospect to get rid of a bunch of money off your books, and then take on the money with Polanco and give up the appropriate value for what is essentially 2 years of control if Jorge Polanco everything goes as well as his upcoming season. I like it because value-wise, you do this trade every single time.
Those are similar words to the ones you uttered all the way back when, man, it's crazy we're getting close to 100 episodes, but one of our first episodes, it was after the Teoscar Hernandez trade. They traded Eric Swanson to get him. They traded Adam Macko too. But you were adamant on that episode, and you said when you have a chance to trade big league relievers for everyday starters with impact, every single time you do it, as much as we're going to miss Justin Topa, again, from a personal standpoint, we're really sad to see him go. Baseball-wise, it makes too much sense. There has been way too much shuffling and plugging and playing and trying to duct tape issues over at second base over the last few years. Honestly, since Robinson Cano left. Since Robbie left, they've been trying to duct tape issues at second base. Now they have got their solution. They have a true solution at second base in Jorge Polanco, who over the last 3 years has been one of the best offensive second basemen in baseball.
We've complained, too, about the Mariners' lack of production on the infield. How nice is it for them to go out and get a proven guy like Jorge Polanco? Technically, Colton Wong was proven last season, but with the season he had, it didn't seem like it at all. But the rest of these guys on this infield, Lyle, if you just think about how they came to the Mariners and how they were trying to get that production. Ty France was blocked in the Padres organization. He was stuck in AAA, unproven at the big league level. The Mariners trade for him, been the starting first baseman ever since. Not proven in any sense. J.P. Crawford was at a low point of his career in Philadelphia when he was traded over here to the Mariners, has resurrected his career there. And then you look over at third, I mean, two guys that were sort of cast off by organizations, and Josh Rojas traded to the Mariners, and then Luis Urias with both the Brewers and the Red Sox was about to get DFA'd this offseason and ends up on the Mariners roster. So now instead of trying to go after something like that to fix the second base hole, as you said, they have gone out and they have acquired an all-star and someone who hits at the top of the lineup in good lineups. The Twins had a good lineup last season, and Jorge Polanco spent most of the time in that lineup in the 2-hole or in the 5-hole. And I think that's where he could fit in with the Mariners lineup as well. I have some projected lineups I'd like to get to. But those are two spots you could see Polanco fitting in. He's going to hit for power. He's going to walk. Yeah, he might strike out a little bit, but he's going to have about a 120 WRC plus if he's healthy and 4 wins above replacement. That's as good of a second base option you can have in Major League Baseball.
It's great. It's truly a big time impact trade for the Mariners. It is. He has to stay healthy, and this gets to the root of the problem. If you want to look at the glass half empty sense, is basically every guy the Mariners have traded for this winter, aside from Luke Raley, has injury problems. Actually, even Raley was injured parts of last year. Most of the guys they've traded for have injury problems. Garver, Haniger, Palanco. Those are the big 3 bats they've gotten this winter. And if you want to throw Raley in there too, it's the same thing. They have to stay healthy. Now, that being said, before we start reading out these hypothetical lineups, you mentioned being a premier second baseman. I talked about he's one of the best second basemen in baseball. Let's look at this. Over the last 3 years, leaders in WRC plus among second basemen from 2021 to 2023. Here's your list. Jose Altuve's at 1. Luis Arraez is at 2. Brandon Lau's at 3. Ketel Marte's at 4. Jorge Polanco's at 5. Fifth best second baseman in all of baseball over the last 3 years. Did you notice what name wasn't on there, Tej?
I was about to ask you, Lau, where's Marcus Semien?
Let me scroll down. He is below Jorge Polanco. Yeah, you heard that right. Marcus Semien, despite a phenomenal 2021, a phenomenal 2023, below Jorge Polanco. This is an impact second baseman the Mariners are getting. They gave up an okay amount to get him. This is a very good trade.
This is me puffing my chest out at Scott Boras. See, you couldn't keep him from us. We upgraded.
Yeah. Woo! Dare I say, I don't know if I want to drop an F-bomb at Scott Boras or not. Whatever. Everybody knows how I feel about him. We know we're not Scott Boras fans on this podcast, but yes, Jorge Polanco, good trade.
Here's another thing about this trade. The Mariners essentially, again, come out cast neutral in this trade. And that's a benefit because they still have money to go fix some holes if they're willing to go spin it. Now, they have given no indication this offseason outside of Mitch Garver they intend on spending any money, period, on things outside the organization. So that is yet to be seen. But in theory, if they could go spend some more money, they can now go, if they want to go overpay a bullpen arm or two, someone who's more stable to go pitch in that bullpen, that would be great. There's an issue right now at the Mariners bullpen, Lyle, after this trade, because there are only 4 proven members of that bullpen left after this season. And the more I'm thinking about it, there is 2 proven leverage arms, period, and Munoz and Matt Brash. That's it. Those are the only 2 guys there that you every single night would go like, okay, I trust that guy in the 8th and the 9th inning. Saucedo and Spire on any given night you think are pitching in the 6th or 7th. The Mariners need more options at the back end of that bullpen with Topa gone. Topa, I trusted in both those spots because he didn't allow hard hit ball. He didn't allow high hard hit rate, a lot of ground balls. Perfect solution in the bullpen. Well, that's gone now. And now you have a whole mishmash of cast-offs and low shine, sparkly, not very well-known guys that are coming to spring training to fight for those bullpen spots. I'd rather not try and fill 4 bullpen spots with 4 of those guys. That's risky.
I'm sure people are going to bring up Prelander Baroa, but he's totally unproven. He could be that. And I'm guessing if the Mariners are trading Justin Topa, they believe that this is the year Baroa can become that. But that doesn't change the fact that he has only thrown a couple of big league innings. So I'm sure he's not going to start the year as a back-end leverage guy. I mean, we'll see how he looks in spring training. But I'm guessing he will make the team out of camp now. But I bet you they don't start him by throwing him in the 9th inning when you've got the meat of the opposing lineup up. That's going to be Munoz and Brash. And then as Baroa, we think, continues to prove himself, he might get more chances. Look, and we should say about Saucedo and Spire, both those guys are really good. They're very valuable left-handed arms. They play a specific role. And what their role is they're not really 8th, 9th inning guys where they come in and slam the door all the time saying, no matter who's up, the ball's yours. Like, you're going in against the meat of the lineup. And Saucedo closed a game or 2 last year, and he did his job. He did a good job of it, nonetheless. But they are more suited for around that 6th, 7th inning role. When you need guys later in the game, you probably want guys that throw a little bit harder than them and some guys that just have more swing and miss stuff than they do. I mean, look, Spire gets guys to chase a ton. Those guys have good stuff, but it's just not quite what you think of when you think of a back-end arm.
Can I inquire about a Ryan Stanek who's sitting out there on the free agent market, just kind of sitting there?
You were talking about this pre-recording. You're like, I just realized he is not signed anywhere yet.
If you're talking about leverage, if you're talking about throws gas, if you're talking about a top-end reliever that's not going to cost a Josh Hader amount of money, that would be Ryan Stanek. Please. One more proven arm, please. Because let me just throw this question out to our listeners and to you, Lyle. Do you trust what the Mariners have in their bullpen right now?
I do like 4 of the guys. Again, I think leverage-wise, there is 2 proven ones, but you do need more. If you want that bullpen to be as good as it's been in the last few years, which has been one of their major strengths, no, you need more. And here's the other side of this. The Mariners essentially come out cash neutral with this trade. Between Descalfani's money, between Polanco's money, it's pretty close. And whether Jerry Dipoto holds to his word or not, and by Dipoto we should say ownership, when they say payroll is going to go up in 2024, we still haven't seen it yet. In fact, they are way lower than where they ended at the end of 2023. So they have money left to spend. Where could it go? Well, they could still sign Blake Snell. They could still trade an arm for Isaac Paredes. That's probably not happening at this point. I'll still float it out there because it's possible. It's very unlikely. So more likely, go spend on some bullpen arms. Usually the Mariners don't do that. They're very, very keen on finding guys with value that don't cost a lot, and they turn them into stud arms. But they're in a situation right now where they do need at least one more high leverage arm. If Baroa becomes a high leverage guy and you sign Stanek, then you have 4. But you've got to start the year with at least 3 guys like that you really rely on at the back end of games, and Stanek would make a lot of sense.
You got about $25 million to work with, give or take, on what's remaining of the budget. If it's going to be $145 million, so why not? The position players, as we think right now, are set. You floated the Paredes idea out there, but they again just traded for an infielder. So it's probably not happening. As cool as it would be, the pipe dream's out the window.
There's a reason I floated it. There's a reason I floated it out there. Yeah. It's like, it could still happen. Again, likelihood, no. It would be cool, probably not.
They could use more starters. The problem is there's no one this isn't a situation where you're trading for established or signing established big league starters because they would have to be in your rotation. And that's not going to happen right now. They have 5 guys in their rotation plus Emerson Hancock. If they need more depth, it would come in the minor leagues, I think. So if you wouldn't spend on your lineup, and you're not currently going to spend on your starting rotation outside of the organization and free agency, then what's left is the bullpen. It's the only thing that makes sense. And if you have money left to spend, like if it's the last thing you're going to spend on, okay, great. But we're at the last step. So go spend that.
Now, there's still the scenario we threw out there where if the Mariners sign Blake Snell and just keep all 6 starters, because if Wu's going to be on an innings limit, you start him in the bullpen, then you figure it out from there. I guess that's still possible, but more likely they're sticking with the 5 starters they have right now, and they'll use the money elsewhere if they continue to spend. Yeah, Ryan Stanek, this guy's been so good year after year, and he doesn't slow down either. That would be quite the signing. Although even signing Stanek still leaves a lot of room for this team to spend. And maybe they do more of that toward the trade deadline when they say payroll is going to go up. Maybe it happens there. But they still have a lot of room to grow. I think this lineup right now is a very good lineup. It's better than it was in 2023. This is a lineup that can truly compete. But there is still room to add if they choose to. It's just a matter of, do they?
Here's the lineup. You want to hear it?
Yeah, let's do it.
I have 2 different drafts of a lineup because Jorge Polanco spent most of last season hitting out of the 2-hole or the 5-hole in the Twins lineup. So I created a lineup on both of those aspects, on both those spots for Jorge Polanco. First one, he's batting out of the 5-hole. You have JP in the 1 spot, Julio 2, Cal 3, Garver 4, Polanco 5, Rayleigh 6, Ty France 7, Mitch/Dom in the 8 hole, and then Rojas or Luis Urias in the 9 spot. Now, if Polanco were to hit second, I bump Julio up to the leadoff spot. So it goes Julio, Polanco, Cal, Garver. JP hits 5th. Rayleigh hits 6th. Ty France hits 7th. Mitch/Dom hits 8th. And Rojas or Luis Urias hits 9th. Do you like either of those better?
I think I like the first one a little bit better. Neither are bad. I think I like the first one a little better.
Okay.
What do you like?
So here's the thing I think about. If Polanco's a better hitter this upcoming season than JP Crawford is, hit him too? You would have to, right? There are people who think JP Crawford's going to regress. It's going to be hard for JP to put up a 134 WRC plus this upcoming season in 2024. Polanco is good for about a 120 in a good season that he's healthy. So is JP going to cross the 120 mark?
We'll have to see. I would bet you they start the year with JP hitting leadoff. I think JP will still be around that 120 range. I do. I don't think he's going to totally regress. I think those driveline results are here to stay for the most part. But if Polanco proves to be a better bat than JP, you know what they can do a few weeks into the year? They can shuffle it up. But I think to start the year, you'll see JP in the leadoff spot, Julio at 2, and yeah, you'll see Polanco more at the 5 or 6 range.
Would you consider swapping Palanco and Cal if Cal has some strikeout issues or gets off to a slow start? I mean, I think the 3 hole's not the end of the world. So you go the first 4 spots of Julio or JP, Julio, Polanco, Garver, then Cal in the 5 spot. Because I know there are people in our comments who think Cal should hit lower. Well, okay, if you want Cal to hit lower, does hitting Polanco 3rd instead of Cal make you more intrigued? Especially with a 10% walk rate there.
Does Polanco feel like a 3 hitter to you? Or maybe I'm overthinking this. He just doesn't feel like a 3 hitter.
Not really. Cal Raleigh's not really a 3 hitter either. Garver is a 3 hitter, but we're not sure how much Mitch Garver is going to stay on the field.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's why you put him in the 4 spots. Maybe. Okay, so you go JP 1, Julio 2, Garver 3, Cal 4, Polanco 5, because Polanco's not a 4 hitter.
No, so you'd hit him 5. That makes sense.
Okay.
Or you could even hit him 6 if you like Rayleigh's power a little bit better out of the 5 spot. You could do that too. So this is a good.
This lineup though, you're right. It's better and it's less strikeout prone. The problem is it's not as reliable health wise, and that's the risk you run for how this lineup is constructed. You're going to have to rely on a lot of guys to have remarkably healthy seasons for this to all work out. If it does work out, this is a chance to be an easily top 10 lineup and very productive through you could go be productive through the 9 hole. I'm mapping it out and looking at the numbers from last season of where these guys are hitting. JP 134 WRC plus, Julio 126, Cal 112, Garver 138, Polanco 118, Rayleigh 130. That's the first 6 in your lineup. That's a pretty elite first 6 hitters. And then after that, you expect Ty France to go a little bit higher than his 104. We're optimistic with either Mitch staying healthy in the 8 spot and hitting well, or Dom Canzone turning his expected numbers into actual results and hitting out of that 8 spot. And then Rojas and Urias, we've already talked about how much we like Josh Rojas in the 9 hole, and then you add on top of that a potential bounce back for Luis Urias. Yeah, that's really looking up.
It's a really good lineup. Look, Polanco played 80 games in 2023, played 104 in 2022. He has to stay on the field. If he does, this team is absolutely better than it was in 2023. And all this lineup shuffling we're doing and the hypotheticals, it's a good problem to have, because what we're saying here is there's a lot of really good bats that could hit in a lot of different spots. That's exciting. This is a good lineup. And be excited about this lineup if you're somebody listening and you're a little skeptical. It's a good lineup.
I can't complain. Jerry did a good job, but now, I still think there are some finishing touches out there with the bullpen and with spending. They can't get away with not spending. They cannot do it. We cannot get fed. The payroll is going to be higher, and then it's we are still sitting here and it's not. Yeah, they are better, but now that the money will have to be spent between now and August 2nd of this year. It will need to get spent. That is on the record. I think that is a unison agreement amongst all factions of Mariners fandom. that payroll by August 2nd should be at $145 million. Period.
Correct. It should. The only thing is, can they really spend $20 million on bullpen arms, if not more? Seems like a lot.
They can sign Stanek and then trade for whatever they need to at the deadline. If they have to acquire $10, $15 million worth of players at the deadline, okay, because that would make them better, because players who get paid that much money are usually that good. So, yeah. And if it works out, it works out. And then they can actually add at the deadline and not be like, well, we need to get better, but I don't have any money left to spend. And then they throw out an opportunity to actually go get better. So if that's what they're planning on doing, okay. But there's money to spend now, and there can be money to spend at the deadline as well. So go do it.
Agreed. One last thing we should probably mention about Palanco before we get into what the Mariners gave up a little bit. Not a great defender. We do have to address the one elephant in the room. Really not a great defender, but he does just play second base, so maybe it'll work out okay. Maybe Perry Hill will work with him. And similar to how we talked about the Arise hypothetical, they're obviously not trading for Palanco for his glove. That being said, it probably still needs to be addressed.
Sure. And I'm going to give the same response I gave to Arise. Okay.
Well,
they're going to have a guy hitting fifth now. A guy hitting fifth now. So.
Yes, correct. But
will I bitch when he boots a ball? Absolutely. But you know what? Right now, the smile's on my face. The vibes are good.
Okay, fair enough. I will just remind you that we kind of kicked the can down the road when we saw the Colton Wong trade, and we was like, he doesn't really play defense, but whatever. They're trading for him for his bat.
But he did. He used to.
Correct. But then not only did he not hit, but we saw him try to make relay throws to the plate as the cutoff man, and they were getting two bounce to the plate. So.
Well, as long as Jorge Polanco does not throw a ball like Colton Wong, I think we'll do better than that.
Yeah. So Jorge Polanco's arm strength by Baseball Savant in the 22nd percentile, which is not great by any standards. It's very below average. But Colton Wong was in the first. So if you look at it like that, upgrade.
And when you're at second base, you don't need to have one in the 99th percentile. You just need to be able to get it over to first base. That's all.
Agreed.
So that's okay. Like it's fine with Jorge Polanco. It's like really it's such a non-issue. We understand what it's going to take to upgrade this lineup, and they've done it. And you sacrifice some defense on the other end.
Right. We talked about Topa a little bit. Obviously, we should highlight that the Twins are getting a phenomenal reliever. That's a pretty good 1-2 punch between him and Johan Duran at the back end of that rotation. The back end of that bullpen. Because Topa doesn't give up hard hit balls, gets a lot of weak contact, was really, really effective last year. His profile suggests it should carry over from year to year. So that is the main piece back for the Twins, at least for the time being. Look, Anthony Desclafani is a back-end starter. Okay. Darren Bowen has a little bit of upside, like we said. Okay. The one other guy we should talk about is obviously Gabby Gonzalez, who is a top 100 prospect, has been in the Mariners prospect ranks and talks for a while now. But I will say two things. If you're that upset about giving up Gabby Gonzalez, I do scratch my head a little bit. And I also would read you his slash line, which is he hit, I won't read you his full slash, but he hit 215 in Everett last year. So high A, he's hitting 215 with a WRC plus below 100. And he's not really putting up high exit velos either. So I would rather have Jorge Polanco.
There's a lot of really young, exciting prospects in the system. I just don't understand how you would get wrapped up around someone who's not even the top 100. I think people think Gabby's going to get into the top 100 this year, and that's great for Gabby. He's going to get some awesome recognition and such, but getting wrapped up over losing Gabby Gonzalez for someone that you could have in the middle of your infield for 2 seasons, hitting at a well above average rate seems right. So if you're trying to be upset about this, you're probably finding a reason to be mad at either Jerry or the Mariners or something else. I cannot get worked up over trading Gabby Gonzalez. How many times this offseason have we proposed a trade that had Gabby Gonzalez in it? A lot of them.
A lot. Yeah.
So when he actually gets traded, we can't be upset about it.
Right. And if you're somebody that says, well, the Mariners don't have a lot of outfield prospects now, let's pump the brakes on that. Well, first off, Johnny Farmel is an outfielder. They just took him in the first round. And not all these infielders are going to be in the infield. There's just too much of a logjam. Ty Pete may play the outfield long-term. Dewell Joseph may play the outfield long-term. Like, there's going to be more outfielders in this system long-term. And then it's not an issue. So
Harry Ford.
I'm with you. I can't lose sleep over Gabby Gonzalez. Who did you just say?
Harry Ford.
Yeah, another guy that could play the outfield. So,
and it's taking away from the fact, your star center fielder's 23. And the guy next to him in the outfield who you envision when you traded for him is a part of your future, Dom Canzone's only 26 and has a boatload of control. And Jerry, at least right now, envisions Dom Canzone being a part of the Mariners' future for a long time. So that's 2 spots right there.
And Luke Raley's very club controllable. There's another.
He is. Yeah, not as young, but club controllable, yes.
Yeah. So I think they're doing okay.
Worrying about outfield prospects 3 years from now, like, that's such a 2021 thing. Like, we got to get past this. The time is right freaking now.
Yeah.
Right now. I don't care what happens in 3 years.
That's right. And look, if they had given up Cole Young, if they had given up Colt Emerson, if they had given up Felmy, we're having a different conversation. But to give up Gabby Gonzalez, again, who may be very good in the long term, but you can't wait around for a guy that, despite some high upside, put up less than 100 WRC plus in high A and be worried about it. Because what you need right now is impact on the infield. That's what Jorge Polanco is going to do. If he's healthy, he can be a 4-win player and a top 5 second baseman in the sport. I'll take that guy.
I agree. And even if they traded one of those other guys, like, it might sting a tiny bit more, but I can't get wrapped up over prospects anymore. I can't do it. Like, it's time. It's time to move on from that, from that mindset in this sense.
Yeah. Prospects are good to have, and some of these guys may end up being very impactful. But again, you need impact guys at the big league level now, and that's what Polanco is.